Hey everyone, again, my name is Dan Steinhaus, MGA here with the Financial Providence. I always do that. The Financial Providence Group and the Miles Group. I built an agency called the Steinhaus Insurance Group. Okay, and what we're going to be doing in this segment is the same thing that from videos that you may have seen before from the presentation video, but what I did just to keep up with the times here, because cost of funerals are increasing, we added a few more, couple things, and took out some things that were a little outdated of the presentation. So I want to show you the most updated version of the presentation, which you'll see some of almost everything is pretty similar. Okay, so what I did is I made a bunch of copies of these, okay, the presentation binder. Now I used this material. It's almost like plastic, and it'll never fade. It's also waterproof, so if you're in a house with a client and they spill something on it, or you spill, it won't tear, it won't get messy as easily. Okay, if you don't like these things here, you can simply just slice it off and stick it in those inserts, those plastic inserts, and stick it in a 3-ring binder. Okay, so whatever your preference is. All right, so this is the front cover. Just walking you through it. These 2 pages, they're exactly the same. Okay, turning the page here, you got the customer service page and why you need final protection, or why you need be protected for your final expenses. This brochure here we go. All right, this brochure here actually is from the home office. It's something that you can order and ship to your house, and it's the one of the inflation brochures. Okay, so it's kind of tough to see, but you can see everything on there of the cost of a funeral plus the burial. Okay, and then this page here is just a filler. Okay, but you definitely want to know this information on here. I'm not going to touch on this when I'm actually talking to the client unless I absolutely need to. Okay, and flipping through the next page here. Okay, this is what you'll see that's new. Okay, projected funeral costs. So between $8,000 to $12,000. All right, based off of inflation. So this is where the need-based selling comes in. Hey, you're young and healthy today. 30 years from now, the cost of funerals isn't going to be the same price. So why don't we get you locked in, the youngest and healthiest that you're going to be, which is now. Okay, and then it also shows the projected cost for cremations. Okay, so that's one of the biggest changes. This is something that I actually received. This is the next page. This is something that I received by a client. I don't go over everything, but what this is a visual of all the things to get them, to make them realize and see that there's a lot of responsibilities when you lose a loved one. Okay, so then that transitions into the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society. Okay, which is the next page, and then you have Part A and Part B. Okay, and then from there you go to the membership cards and the affordable solution page. After that, as a filler, I have this in there as well. Okay, so that is the walkthrough of the presentation. So now we're just going to dive straight in this version. Okay, I'm going to also give explanations again of why we say what we say. Okay, so you have the lead. All right, you small talk is over. All right, you slide the lead over to the client, and you simply say, and so they see it. So if you don't already know this information, then you're going to say this. So let me ask you, Mr. Client, when you fill this out, what was on your mind when you sent this in to us? Do you not have any coverage, or are you just looking to get a little bit more? I'm just looking to get a little bit more. So what you're doing, I'm going to pause right there. You're controlling the questions. So in you're guiding them. They either need more coverage, or you're almost controlling the response too. So they either need more or don't have any. We didn't say, oh, we didn't leave it so open-ended where they can, oh, I'm just shopping around. Okay, but you might have clients say that too. Okay, slide over. Let's say they either response is fine. If they say they need more, or if they say they're just looking for something, then great. Either response, okay, great. Okay, well, so then what you do is an introduction, right? What I'm gonna do here today in about 12 minutes or so, I'm just gonna tell you a little bit about Lincoln Heritage, okay, tell you about the free benefits that we offer with our funeral planning that you're gonna love, and also go through a few health questions to find a plan that meets your needs and budget, and I'll show you some options, and we can get you, whatever option works best for you, then we can get you set up here today. Okay, sound good? Great. So you set the stage. Why do we do that? Well, now it's like going to the dentist. Okay, when you go to the dentist and the dentist just starts drilling and putting that drill near your mouth, all right, you're nervous. You don't know what to expect. You don't know what you're going to feel. So by telling them exactly what's going to happen, how it's going to play out, the process, and explain the process to them, now their mind is at ease. Okay, they know what to expect, so they're going to be patient because everyone wants to know, every single client wants to know the number one thing is how much does this cost? Okay, and we say that for the very end because we have to build the value first before we show them price. And our rates with Lincoln Heritage, they are not the cheapest and they're not the most expensive. We're right there in the middle, in the sweet spot. Okay, so we're designed to last a very long time. All right, so going into the presentation here. So on the front cover, you say, okay, well, what we're going to do here is we're going to go, one second, sorry, I got a notification. What we're going to do here is go over everything that I just mentioned, okay? And we have two key parts. We have a cash insurance benefit, so we're going to make sure that your family has the money right away. And we also provide family support services. I'm using my fingers, okay, but you're going to be using a pen, and I'm holding this up. This is going to be flat down on the table. You're going to have it opened up. It's going to be facing the client, okay, not you. All right, and you want to have you, the presentation, and then the client on the other side, or clients on the other side. Okay, so one of the key things, turning the page here, one of the key things about what we do is that we pay out in 24 hours. As you're pointing to this with your pen. Okay, we pay on 24 hours. Now, let me ask you, Mr. Client, do you know why that's important? That's a key question to ask, and you want to get the client engaged and involved. So you're going to say, do you know why that's important? And they're going to say, well, yeah, because you want your money. You need your money. I'm like, yeah, absolutely. But a lot of life insurance companies don't pay out right away. All right, and that can be a problem, especially when your family. Well, let me ask you, who would be in charge of everything if something happened to God forbid, sooner than later? Who would be responsible? Oh, your daughter. Okay, and what is her name? Amy. Okay. All right. So this is going to be designed for Amy. We're going to take a huge burden off Amy's shoulders because a lot of life insurance companies, sometimes they'll take weeks to months to pay out. And if Amy doesn't have that money right away and that funeral home wants their money right away, that's going to cause a problem, right? Well, yeah. Okay. Well, you won't have to worry about that with Lincoln Heritage because we pay out our claims in 24 hours of the claim approval. Okay, so you'll have peace of mind ahead of time knowing that Amy will have the funds to cover those funeral expenses. Okay, so what I did is I established the beneficiary. Okay, pausing right now. I established who the beneficiary is. The beneficiary's name is Amy, and we know the client, we're going to say in this scenario, doesn't have any insurance. Okay, all right. We're going to use Amy's name throughout the presentation. It makes it more personable. Okay, so to tell you, now going back to the presentation, so we were on the 24-hour payout, touching on that. Now we're going to this right here, or the next page. So just to tell you a little bit about Lincoln Heritage, and you should know this. You do not just read. You do not want to read. So to tell you a little bit about Lincoln Heritage, we are the #1 final expense company in the country. And sometimes I'll stick out my hand. I'll say, so congratulations, you're in good hands. All right, we're going to take care of you. All right, we are a nationwide company. We'll operate in 49 states. Okay, we're the #1 life insurance company. And here I am drawing a blank. So. Whatever. I wish I could edit this, but I can't. All right, so let me go back. So we're the #1 company in the country. We've been around since 1963. All right, so you're in good hands with us. We're also very financially secure. All right, if every one of our clients passed away tomorrow, we would be able to pay out every single claim and still be fully operational. And again, so you're emphasizing these points. You don't want to dwell too much, but we're nationwide. We're #1 in the country. We have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. We've been in business for over 50 years. Those are the key points. There we go. I got it out of my system. Sorry about that. Now, this is a picture of our headquarters. Okay, have you ever been to Phoenix before? That's where our headquarters are. And they're going to say yes or they're going to say no. All right, so when they say yes or no, then you respond, oh, okay, well, have you done any traveling in your time? All right, like, oh yeah, you have been there. Oh great, okay, when'd you go? And what you're doing is you're staying in the pocket, right? I learned that from Justin Howard. You stay in the pocket, that term there. So you want to touch on that, and there's a reason why you're touching on that, okay? Because people that travel, that means they're mobile. So you're thinking the entire time throughout this, finances, what their financial situation is. So you're asked that question to figure out how much AD&D you're going to give them. Okay, and also, so it also ties into the presentation, but also for finances, as I mentioned. Now, people that travel have more discretionary income than usually the people that don't, because they have the money to spend to do it. So there's a reason why. So you're asking one question, you're getting 2 answers, and you'll do that quite often throughout the presentation. The client thinks you're just being friendly and building rapport, which you are, but you're also gaining information about who you're talking to, who's in front of you. Okay, so then you talk about where they've traveled to and this and that. You're getting them warmed up to you at the same time, so you're killing multiple birds at the same time. Okay, next page here. So then you have the customer service page. Okay, customer service page. There's 2 strategies on this page to provide the option for them to increase the coverage or to maintain their policy. Okay, not just cancel, but also to figure out if they have a bank account or not. Okay, because that's who you want to be talking to. Someone who is established, okay, and has the means to pay for this every single month for the rest of their life, right? So on this page here, I'll say, all right, now, Mr. Client, I'm going to be your personal representative. Our customer service is phenomenal. I'm going to give you my phone number, the same number my mom calls me on, okay? So if you ever need anything, just let me know. I'm here for you. All right, so if you need more insurance over time because the cost of funerals are getting more expensive, all right, notice how I threw that in there, because the cost of funerals are getting more expensive, call me and we can get you more insurance. Let's say something happens to you financially and you feel that you can no longer afford this anymore. Okay, well, don't just call the company and cancel. Give me a call and I can help you out. I just want you to know that you have options. Okay, so if something happens, all right, then call me and we can adjust things to make it more affordable, because having something's better than nothing, correct? As you nod your head, yes. Now, that line there, you're going to use to put their words in the mouth later on in the presentation, because if they say, oh, I want $20,000 of coverage, and then they can't afford $20,000 of coverage, so you show them what they can afford, which might be $15,000 or $10,000, for example, you're going to say, well, you mentioned earlier that something's better than nothing, so why don't we just get started with 10, and down the road we'll come back to that and we can possibly increase and get you more coverage down the road. And they go, oh, okay, I like that idea, right? So that's a key thing to say as well. All right, now the other strategy, as I mentioned on here, going back to role playing here. Now what's also nice, Mr. Client, is that we do have live operators that answer the phone. So if something happens and for whatever reason you can't get in touch with me, okay, you could always call our corporate office and it's headache free. And now at times a lot of corporate companies, even when I call my bank, I bank with Citizens. You have Citizens as well? Yeah? Okay, great. Or they say no. Oh, okay, well, who do you normally bank with? Oh, whatever, credit union? Oh, credit unions are much more, usually more friendlier than the big corporate banks. But even when I call Citizens, I have to dial 1, dial 2. It's a pain in the butt. I never get through. It's all automated. With this is headache free. Okay, you don't have to worry about that. All right, you'll talk to a real person. They speak English, and they'll direct you to where you want to be. Okay, and they go, oh, whew, I'm so glad, because this and that, and you just start making jokes with them. Your goal is to make them smile, make them laugh. People that smile or laugh with you or at you are comfortable with you, all right, and there's a level of trust there too, okay. So those two strategies we implement on that page there, okay. Then the next page is this. So why you need protection for your final expenses. So when I change my tone, because you don't want to be like a robot the whole time. You want to let this be. You want to be natural as much as you possibly can. And if something's not natural for you, then you have to practice it a million times until it becomes second nature. Okay. So on this page here, you're going to ask the client. So let me ask you, Mr. Client, have you experienced a funeral recently? And they're going to say yes, or they're going to say no. Then what you do is you stay in the pocket. You engage. You ask some more questions. If they say yes, then okay, my condolences. Was it a friend or family member? It was a friend. Okay, so did you know if they had insurance or not? You know what, they did. Okay, awesome. So you definitely understand the importance of this. And if they say no, or yes they did, or no they didn't, whatever they say, it's the same response. Is okay, so you understand the importance of this. Okay, and the reason why I asked that, going back into role playing here, the reason why I asked that is because this number here hasn't changed. This number right here hasn't changed. There we go. And $255, that hasn't changed about 50, 60 years or so. And $255, that's going to do what for you? Get you a rose, and the client's going to start laughing like, yeah. So that's why having this plan is definitely important. Okay, then you turn the page. Now we're transitioning. We've built rapport, we've established who we are, credibility, and that there's options for you to get more or less in coverage. Now you know if they have a bank account or not. I do want to rewind, okay? I want to go back to this page here, okay? Sorry about that. Now let's say on this page, if you assume, say I have citizens, do you have citizens as well? Or like, you have citizens as well, correct? And if you're wrong, they're going to correct you. Okay, and if you're right, they're going to agree with you because now you have something in common. But if they don't have a checking account, or they're just like real stiff, they're like, well, you don't need to know that. Then you need to build more rapport. Okay, you haven't built that trust yet. So if they don't say anything, then they probably don't have a checking account. Or if they just kind of go, oh, okay, oh, okay, and then they probably don't have a checking account. Now, does that mean you walk away from the business? No. What you want to do is you still want to give them the time of day and let them see the value of this, because even if they don't get insurance, if they might have a debit card, okay, pick and choose your battles with that, or a prepaid debit card. I wouldn't advise that. Or they might have a savings account. They might have a friend or a family member that can pay for it for them, and they can give the cash. So don't just quit, right there. Still build the value, because even if you don't make that sale, you want referrals. So if they see the value of this, then say, hey, and they don't get it because they can't afford it, or they don't have their method of payment that is preferred, okay, then you still can say, well, whenever you get a checking account, let me know, give me a call, and I tell you what, in the meantime, here, fill this out, people that and give them a pen. All right, and get referrals from them. So you always want them to let them see the value, so they know what they're missing out on if they don't get it. Okay. So that's my little spiel going back to that page there. All right. So back to here, getting the flow again. Yeah. So what you're doing here is you're transitioning into why you need more coverage, because this $255 doesn't cover anything. Doesn't cover much. Okay. And now I also asked them, well, if they've experienced a funeral recently. And the reason why that's important to ask that question, because it makes them mortal again. It brings them down to earth, because they might have inquired because someone passed away, but then time goes by and then they forget about it. Okay, and then they think, nothing's happened to me. I'm young, I'm healthy, whatever the case may be. And then something else happens, and then they go, oh, I need to get insurance, but they never pull the trigger and do it. So you want to bring them to reality here and realize that, hey, we're not tomorrow's not promised. This is going to happen to everyone. Death doesn't judge anybody, and so you want to bring those possibly suppressed emotions and bring them to the surface again by asking that question: have you experienced a funeral recently? And then staying in the pocket and asking more questions along with that. Okay, all right. So what you're doing now, okay, on the next page here, is you're showing them that just visuals. This is what you want to start high and come down low. It's let gravity help you out, okay. So this is the cost. You can see that. You make sure you read this ahead of time too before you present. You want to know what everything is. So going back into role playing, all right. So Mr. Client, all right. So this is just a visual here to show you that the cost of funerals are going up, and they're actually going up higher than the inflation rate. Right here it says the consumer price index. Okay, so you can see cost of funerals 15,000. You got your funeral expenses plus you got your cemetery expenses, and it comes to around 15,000 there. Okay, and they're like, oh wow, and whatever they say, you just want to start listening. You want to do more talk. You want to do more listening than talking. Okay, so that means you have to know this presentation because you don't want to have to think about what you should be saying next. All right, so you want to get this down pat, and you do that by practice, 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 and failing forward. All right, making mistakes and learning from them. Anyways, moving on. Okay, so on this page here, you're also going to ask. Well, let me ask you, are you leaning, Mr. Client, are you leaning towards cremation or are you leaning towards burial? Oh, I'm leaning towards cremation, let's say. There's less to it, okay? Burial is more common, so I'm going to do burial, okay, in this example. All right, so just to give you an idea, or if they say I don't know, show them both, okay? So just to give you an idea, okay, it's the current year, right, is 2017 when we're doing this. Okay, so it says the average funeral cost between 8 to 12,000, and that's been the average, with all the associated expenses. Inflation between 1913 and 2009 has been on average 3.43%. So that's where they're getting those figures. So you make sure you want to read this, okay? And there's a legit source as well. So it is 2017. So it says with about 10,000. Okay, so let's say the client is 60 years old, and another 30 years from now, when they're 90 years old, all right, then the cost of the funeral is going to be right here. Boom. What does that say? So in 2047, 27,000 to $34,000 if the inflation rate's 4%. Okay, so that's a big difference. So going into role playing again. So Mr. Client, are you leaning towards cremation or burial? I'm leaning towards burial. Okay, great. Well, let me just give you, show you this here. All right. So today, this is the inflation rate. So today it's about 10,000 for that. But in that year, it's going to be, let's say you live to your 90, it's going to be about $27,000. So our goal today is to get you the most coverage we possibly can, the youngest and healthiest that you're ever going to be, which is now, but also something that's going to fit comfortably in your budget. You know what the best kind of insurance to have is, Mr. Client? And they're going to say, well, what's that? Or they might respond, and you go, that's the kind you can afford, okay? And that's the kind you can keep. All right, and that's the affordable kind. Our goal is to have this plan so it's here tomorrow, God forbid something happens, but it's also going to be here 30 years down the road when your family needs it the most, okay? So that's what we're going to do here for you today. All right, and then you keep it moving. So the next transition is this here is just a visual. I'm still role playing, okay? This here is just a visual of all the responsibilities, okay, that your daughter Amy is going to have. Now our goal, and I'm sure your goal, is to shrink this list down, okay? And we can accomplish that through this program here. This is the Funeral Consumer Guardian Society, and I point to it. It's basically, in a nutshell, it is a society that's going to guard Amy during the funeral. And there's 3 excellent points about this that I want you to make sure you know. One, that this is exclusive. No one else has this or offers this unless you already have Lincoln Heritage. So you're going to have something that no one else has. And that's assumptive, right? You're going to have something that no one else has. So it makes people feel special, okay? Back to role playing. All right, and this was created by former funeral directors, so they know the ins and outs of the business, and they know what things should and should not cost. So they are going to go to work for Amy to make sure they get her the best value without overspending. okay? And this is absolutely free. Free, you like free? Yeah, free's good. All right, so there's no additional cost for this, okay? And you don't have to do this today, but what you're gonna do is you're gonna get this packet in the mail after we get everything taken care of for you here today. Again, very incentive. Back to role playing. All right, and what you'll do here is, and you get your pointer, okay, and you just go down the list, okay. What you're gonna do here is you fill in your basic information, your next of kin, what kind of funeral service you're looking for. All right, so all the questions are going to be made or answered. All the decisions are going to be made ahead of time. You'll take a huge burden off Amy's shoulders, so she doesn't even have to think about this. Okay. The funeral homes that you want to go to, okay, if you change your mind, if you want something update, if you want to change something around, you can at any point in time. All right, you'll put your final expense information here. That's Lincoln Heritage. All right, and if let's say if the client has, on a side note here, if the client has insurance with another company, that's fine. No worries. This adds value to what they have. So what you can say in that case, well, I have insurance already. Well, let's say Amy can't find that policy, or it gets lost, or it gets thrown away by accident, whatever case may be. Because you wrote it down here, this is going to be safely stored in our computer archives, and she can now access that. 20% of policies nationwide go unclaimed. So this way, she'll have access to that, and that way it won't just go to a waste, and all that money you spent all the years will go to nothing. Okay, so this adds value to what you currently have. All right, military record, flowers, music, what you want to wear, everything what to do with the pets. This is all going to be on file, so again, Amy doesn't have to think about it. Okay, now let's say, for example, you didn't have this plan. All right, so I close my binder, I move it to the side, just for dramatic effect here. Close my binder, let's say you didn't have this plan just yet. Okay, something happens to you. Amy goes to the funeral home. The funeral director says, I'm very sorry for your loss. Did your father have life insurance? Amy says yes. Okay, and let's say you have a $20,000 policy. Okay, and you say, the funeral director says, can I, mind if I take a look at that policy just to see if it's still in effect, just to make sure and check it out, make sure everything's right. Sure, not a problem. So then Amy hands them the policy. They open up the policy and they see it's a $20,000 insurance policy. What do you think the funeral home is going to do? They're probably, not all the time, okay, but more than likely, now they know the budget. So costs are going to go up. Magically, that funeral may cost $19,900. Okay, so what we do, okay, Mr. Klein, is we don't allow that to happen. We're just going to say, what are you looking for? All right, and what can you do for the amount that they're looking to spend? So we provide consumer protection. So we'll keep them in the dark, so they don't know how much coverage you have. We won't let the cat out of the bag. We'll just say, hey, this is what you're looking for. What can you do? All right. Now you also have these free membership cards as well. All right, going to the next page. So you're going to take this one and you're going to put this one here in your wallet, and you're going to give these 4 membership cards to the people that you care about the most. And think about those 4 people you'll give these to, and I'll get their information from you in a little bit and give them a call and let them know what to do. Okay, now I just got 4 referrals, all right, by doing that. But it's also important to do that, because when the client's gone, and if they didn't communicate to their family the importance of this, then guess what? All that information is gone too. I had 2 clients in 1 month who passed away, and their family called me after they called me and said, "Oh, the funeral's already done and paid for. We just found his policy." I'm like, "Oh man, I felt like I didn't do my job." So you want to call those people that they're going to give the cards to and let them know what their role is and how the plan works, and just educate them about the benefits. 9 times out of 10, they're going to be like, "Well, I don't have this for myself." I'm like, "Well, we know. If you don't have Lincoln Heritage, you don't have this." All right. So let me continue educating you about that, and we can see what you qualify for in a little bit. There's no physical, right? So that's a great way to get referrals right here. Boom, those 4 membership cards. So going back to role playing, so these membership cards are free. You're going to give these 4 cards out to the people that you care about the most. Okay, and think about who you're going to give those cards to. I'll get their information from you in a little bit. All right, I didn't ask. I told them it's part of the process. I'm going to get their information from you in a little bit and give them a call and tell them exactly what to do. So in the case when something does happen, not if. When something does happen, okay, Amy, all she has to do now is take this card out of her wallet. She's going to call that help hotline number. She's going to talk to us. All right. We are then going to pull up the file, and I'm going back here, of everything that you had filled out. And then we're going to call these funeral homes that you picked right here. We're going to call these funeral homes that you picked right here and see what that says. It says shop, okay, right here. We're going to shop around, and we're going to call funeral home number 1, and we're going to say, hey, funeral home, how much? This is what the family is looking for. What can you do? Oh, and how much does it cost? Oh, okay, $15,000. Okay, great. Let us call you back. Then we go to the next funeral home and say, hey, how much are you charging for what they're looking for? Oh, $13,000. We'll say, okay, and we work with the family, and we'll say, well, look, hey, funeral home number, the second funeral home here is charging $13,000. So if you're not willing to match their price, then we're just going to go with them. Magically, the price comes down, okay? And so we're saving your family hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. And again, Mr. Client, this is a free benefit for your family and for Amy, okay? This is all included, okay? Now, what's also nice about this last page is that this is a whole life plan. Another question you want to ask them: are you familiar with the difference of whole life versus term life? If they say yes, then just say, okay, well, just to reiterate, I always start with term for whatever reason. That's what I do. So term life is like leasing the car or renting your apartment. You know, when you pay every month, and when your lease is up on your car, what happens? You have to give the car back. Do you get your money back? No, you paid for it for that time. You know, and when you rent your apartment, your rent gets more expensive over time. And if when you walk away from it, you can't sell it. It's not yours. It's done. It's over with. You don't live there anymore. That's term insurance. We don't do that kind of insurance. So whatever you start out with us today, okay, you're locked in. And if your health or your age obviously will change over time, you're grandfathered in, and we're not going to raise your price because your age or your health. So whole life you're going to have for your whole life. And it's like owning your home. And then you can ask the client, well, like, do you rent or do you own? And they're like, oh, I rent. I'm like, okay, well, this is like owning. All right, if they say I own, then so, well, great. So this is like owning your home. It's permanent, and it builds a cash value, like an equity, over time. Okay, and it's never going to change. All right, and there's no physical exam, just a few health questions to see what you qualify for. All right, and based off those questions, then we'll find a plan that meets your needs and also fit your budget as well. Any questions about anything I went over? And they go, nope, most of the time, and say, okay, great. So then you transition to those health questions, and that's the end of this segment here. So there's key questions that you most definitely always want to ask, and those are in the Dropbox folder. If you're a part of that Dropbox folder, I'll pull them up for you here so we can just do a quick recap of everything. 1 second. All right. So the main questions, we call them the power questions, okay, are these here. One moment while I pull this up on my computer screen. All right. So do you have any coverage currently? That's a question that you want to find out right away. Do you have any coverage currently? So if something happened to you, who would be in charge of everything? So you want to find out the beneficiary. Have you experienced a funeral recently? You want to know that to, again, draw those emotions to the surface. Okay. Are you leaning towards cremation, or are you leaning towards burial? You most definitely want to ask that. Reason being is because you want to know what kind of coverage to put together for the client. If it's gonna, you're not going to show them $35,000 if they're getting a cremation, unless they're saying, I want to leave money, you know, to my family and this and that. Okay. Are you familiar with the difference of whole life versus term life? Another reason why that is very key to ask. So now that insurance is on their mind, they're going to be talking about it or thinking about it, or at least be observant of it going on. Kind of like when you buy a new car, where you're thinking about buying a new car, and then all of a sudden you start seeing that car all the time on the road. Well, it's the same thing. So now, now they're going to go talk to their friends who probably don't know anything, most likely, about life insurance, and they go, "Oh, you gotta cancel that because I got $100,000 and I only pay $10 a month. So you pay $50 a month for only $10,000. So you need to cancel that. I got a better deal." And they go, "Oh man, really?" And they cancel, right? but that's probably an accidental policy or a term policy. So you want to make sure your clients are educated of the difference of whole life and term, because again, they're gonna like, well, that doesn't seem like I get a lot for that. I'm like, well, this is permanent insurance. This is a safe, secure, guaranteed way to make sure that that money will be there for your family when they need it the most. So what you're doing is you're educating the client to protect them from canceling because they so-called found a better deal, which usually is a term policy. There's nothing wrong with term insurance. It's just not typically what our clients are looking for, because they want something to cover their funeral expenses, and a term policies may not be there. Or they can't afford it when their rate increases down the road, and then they have to let it go, and then it was just a complete waste. Okay. And then also another question that you want to ask, after you show the client the coverage, and they're like, oh, you want to find out what that budget is, or what is comfortable for them. So let's say they're getting a burial, and you show them 25,000 or 35,000, and their reaction is, ooh. I said, well, what did you anticipate? What is something that would be comfortable for you, or how much did you plan on spending per month? And they go, oh, well, maybe around this amount. Okay, well, great. Then so you start high, come down low. So you want to find that sweet spot. You don't want to just say, hey, what's your budget? And sometimes that gives the client, they think they have the ability to negotiate, which obviously there's no negotiations here. The rates are set. So if you just say, what's your budget? They're like, oh, well, $20 a month. What you can get me for $20 a month, right? And so you may be leaving at that point, not providing the best service, because, hey, I've had clients in the past cancel on me because I used to do budget-based, okay, selling versus need-based selling, and I had clients, let's say as an example, they are paying $40 a month for 10,000, and then they cancel with me to go with another company that is giving them 20,000 for $80 a month. So I'm like, I could have just given you 20,000 from the very beginning. It was the same, it's the same thing. So you want to find that sweet spot. You don't want to undermine yourself. You don't want to go too high either. You want to find that happy medium, that balance of providing them the most coverage that they possibly can get, but also something that's going to be there 30, 40 years down the road when they need it the most. Okay. And you can use the money sheet that in some of the other videos to help you present that coverage. So that is everything. And of course, if you have any questions at any point in time, definitely reach up, and practice. Listen to this in the car. Do this presentation a million times in your head, and you're going to put your own flair to it. You're going to use your own language, but you want to make sure that you're not taking a detour. All right, there's no shortcuts. All right, yeah, you want to make sure you're asking all those questions. You want to make sure you're having that conversation. You want to make sure you're listening. So you want to make sure you're implementing the principles and the strategies of this presentation and not cutting any corners. So that the presentation binder keeps you on pace to do that, to make sure it is a visual reminder of what you need to be talking about, and it helps carry that conversation along. So this is great. I love it. This is what I was trained on from the very beginning, and I was writing 20, 30 apps a month, sometimes more than that, 40 sometimes, using the same presentation minus what we just implemented recently due to the inflation and stuff. So that is it. All right, take care. Have a good day, everybody.